I'm Kayla Monroe, 28 years old, and my parents, who've been paying for my little sister Lauren's tuition at the local community college, buying her a shiny new car, and funding her weekend trips to New York for years, even though I've never gotten a dime like that. Suddenly demanded I split all the household bills because they said it was my responsibility to help out as the older daughter. The fork froze halfway to my mouth when Dad cleared his throat in that heavy way during dinner in our creaky old Pennsylvania house. You know, the one right before someone drops a bomb and acts like it's just casual talk. Kayla, he said, not even looking up from the roast I'd spent an hour prepping on our ancient stove. Things need to change around here. I've done the math, and it's not fair anymore that we're carrying everything while you just live here. Mom chimed in quick, her voice sharp over the clink of plates. Exactly. Lauren's off building her future, but you're 28. Time to pull your weight. Mortgage repairs for this leaking roof. Our $2,000 heating bills hit $500 a month in winter. Split it 50-50 starting next month. I set my fork down steady, even though my stomach twisted. They'd pushed me to quit my freelance writing gigs years ago to help run the house, and now they stared at me like I was some freeloader sponging off their sacrifice for Lauren's every whim. Okay, I said calmly. Dad blinked, caught off guard. No tears, no begging. You're right, equal shares it is. But inside, something snapped cold and sharp. If they wanted partners, not family, I'd give them exactly that, and they had no clue what they just unleashed. What would you do if your parents favored your sibling like this and hit you with sudden bills? Drop a comment sharing your story. I read them all. The morning after that dinner, I woke up early in my room and got straight to it. No more handling the whole house like before. I made my own coffee in a single mug, scrambled eggs just for me, and left the kitchen counter empty for them to figure out. From now on, my space stayed my responsibility. Swept floors, folded laundry in my closet, groceries from the corner market paid with my card. The common areas, their problem under this new equal deal. Dad was the first to notice when he stumbled down for breakfast. "Where's the pot of coffee and my shirts ironed?" he grumbled, rummaging through cabinets that hadn't been stocked since I stopped the big shops. I shrugged from my spot at the table, sipping mine. "You can brew your own, Dad. We're splitting everything, remember? That includes chores." He stared, mouth half open, then muttered something about me being stubborn and headed to the garage for his tools. The roof had been dripping again, overnight buckets catching water from cracks in the old ceiling, something I'd usually call the repair guy for. Not anymore. By noon, chaos hit full swing. Dad decided to fix the roof himself, hauling a ladder from the shed and climbing up in his work boots. I heard the scrape from inside, then a thud and a yell. Peeking out the window, I saw him on the ground, clutching his wrist ladder tipped over. "Damn it!" he cursed, limping back in with a swollen hand. Turns out it was a mild sprain, but the ER visit cost him a couple $100 out of pocket, no insurance covering DIY mishaps like that. He glared at me while Mom wrapped it in the living room. "You could have helped," he said. "Equal partners handle their half," I replied evenly, pointing to the lease-like agreement I'd jotted down on paper. Roofs shared space now. Mom wasn't faring better in the kitchen. With no one meal prepping, she started relying on those frozen microwave meals from the dollar store boxes piling up on the scarred wooden counters. Grease stains spread dishes stacked in the sink until it overflowed. One evening, she tossed her red gym socks into the communal washer without sorting my white blouse, came out a tragic pink shade, ruined for good. I held it up when she pulled it from the dryer. "This was $60 new," I said, showing the tag on my phone. "Property damage fee, I'll need reimbursement." She rolled her eyes. "It's just a shirt, Kayla. Wash it again." But I pulled out my notebook, labeled it Partnership Ledger, and logged the charge right there, $60 plus 10 for inconvenience. "Business rules," I told her. "You pay your share or we call it even." The arguments escalated over little things. Dad came home late one night, complaining about the heating bill spiking because the furnace vents were clogged with dust no one had cleaned them. The old system rattled like a dying engine, leaving the house chilly despite the thermostat cranked up. "Why's it so cold in here?" he barked, rubbing his hands. "I do my vents," I said from my warm room door cracked. "Yours are on you now, Dad. Equality means no free rides." He slammed a cabinet, but I just added it to the ledger shared utility hike his portion due. I started buying essentials separately to avoid overlap: my shampoo in the bathroom cabinet locked with a cheap hook, my detergent on a high shelf. One morning, Mom banged on my door. "Your stuff's everywhere, share like family." "Partners share costs, not supplies," I shot back. "Buy your own, Mom." She huffed off to the store, grumbling about extra trips. The ledger grew $5 for her using my dish soap, once $12 for forgotten milk she drank half of. Nights got tense with the cold seeping through cracks, blankets piled high. Dad tried bartering. "Just do the laundry like old times and we'll talk bills." I shook my head. Talk ended when you made it 50-50. He stormed to his office laptop, open to spreadsheets he'd mocked up, before ironic now that I had my own tracking everything. Then came the first real red flag. Scrolling my bank app during a quiet afternoon, I spotted odd outflows, transfers I hadn't authorized, memos vague like family assist. My heart picked up. These weren't random. They lined up with dates Mom mentioned Lauren's latest expense. I screenshotted them, quick fingers flying. I snapped the notebook shut, pulse steady but mind racing. Time to dig deeper into those numbers. One evening, as I walked past the living room, I happened to catch voices whispering inside. Dad and Mom sat on the sagging couch, papers spread on the coffee table under the weak lamplight. I froze in the hallway, heart thudding, and pressed close to listen without a sound. "Another transfer to Lauren's account," Dad said, low, tapping his phone screen. "10,000 from the joint savings, the part Kayla built up from those old freelance checks. She won't notice if we frame it as household reserves." Mom hesitated, then nodded. "She needs it more. Her tuition's due and that new car payment hit hard. Plus she's sending chunks to her ex for rent in Philly. He's drowning in debts from those Vegas weekends." I bit my lip to stay silent, fists clenching. Lauren knew about the shared pot. We'd talked savings goals years back when I was grinding writing gigs to contribute. But she'd hidden this dipping in to bankroll her flashy life party nights club tabs masked as emergencies. Dad scrolled further. "Memo it as sis help like last time. Family supports family, right? Kayla's not using it anyway, hold up in her room." Mom sighed but agreed. "Just keep it quiet. If she finds out, it'll blow up, especially after pushing her on bills." The betrayal sank in like ice. They'd raided my portion, funneled straight to Lauren's whims and her deadbeat ex's gambling holes. Vegas trips, rent for a guy she'd dumped months ago, all while painting me as the burden at dinner. My blood boiled, but I slipped away to my room before they spotted me. Hands shaking, I grabbed my phone and logged into the bank app, pulling up statements. There they were, multiple outflows over months, highlighted transfers with those shady notes: family assist, sis tuition boost. Each one traced back to Lauren's card activity. I cross-checked online her social posts bragging about spa days and club outings right after dates. The ex's name popped in a shared lease record. I dug up quick proof she'd wired him thousands for his fresh start post-breakup, all sourced from our pot. I printed the pages at the local library next day, blacking out nothing, highlighting key memos in yellow. Back home, I stuffed them into a locked drawer in the old oak desk key tucked under my mattress. No confronting yet, evidence first. Dad walked in later, oblivious. "Everything okay?" he asked, eyeing my tense face. "Fine, Dad." I forced out, voice even. "Just balancing my side." He shrugged and left, but inside rage built, not wild, but calculated. That night, I dove into research on my laptop dim screen, glowing in the cold house. Pennsylvania law on adult kids' savings in joint family accounts. Google pulled up forums, legal aid sites. Turns out, without clear separation, misuse could mean breach of trust, especially if contributions were traceable, like my freelance deposits. Reddit threads from R Legal Advis overflowed with similar stories, parents dipping into kids' funds for favorites leading to small claims fights. One post detailed winning back shares with bank trails and memos as proof. I bookmarked attorneys specializing in family asset disputes, noting free consults in the county. Days blurred as I compiled more, cross-referenced Lauren's Instagram photos of her ex at casinos, tagged trips funded post-transfer. A quick public records search showed his eviction notices tied to missed rents she'd covered. The web tightened, Mom mentioning Lauren's stress over phone calls matched exact dates. Dad's voice echoed in my head. Family supports. But this wasn't support, it was theft propping her up while starving my future. I cross-checked balances. My original 10,000 had shrunk by half, rerouted without a word. Anger turned to steel resolve. No more blind trust. I emailed a lawyer template query, attaching redacted scans for advice. Replies trickled, gather all docs, joint intent matters. Forums warned of emotional blowback, but stressed documentation wins cases. One evening, Dad knocked. Heard from Lauren, she's grateful for the help. I nodded tightly. Good for her. He paused, sensing shift, but walked away. I pulled the drawer, staring at the stack. This wasn't just money. It was years of my sweat twisted for sibling favoritism. I shoved the papers into a folder, hands still trembling with fury, and zipped my bag shut. Next weekend, tires crunched on the muddy driveway as Lauren pulled up in her gleaming new sedan engine, humming proudly. She hopped out with shopping bags dangling, waving like nothing was wrong. I met her at the door, phone already in hand with the screenshots pulled up. "Hey sis, come into the living room, we need to talk," I said, voice flat. She frowned but followed, dumping bags on the floor. Dad and Mom appeared from the kitchen, sensing tension. I held up the screen, inches from her face transfers glowing bright. "Explain these. 10,000 from my freelance savings funneled to you and half straight to your ex's rent and Vegas tabs." Lauren's eyes widened, then narrowed. "That's Dad's money, not yours. He handles the account." She crossed her arms, glancing at them for backup. Dad shifted uncomfortably. "It's family pooling, Kayla. We help where needed." Mom nodded quick. "Lauren's building her life tuition car. Your ex needed a hand too. Breakups are rough." Lauren jumped in, voice rising. "Yeah, he was struggling after we split. I sent what I could for his place in Philly, rent's killer there. It's not stealing, it's support." I scrolled to the memos. Sis helped tied to her posts of casino nights and club selfies. Support, you knew it was joint from my writing checks. Hid it to cover parties and his gambling debts. She flushed, stammering. "Okay, fine, I forwarded some because he begged, but Dad approved." Dad cleared his throat. "Family helps family, end of story. Drop it." The argument exploded around the scarred dining table chairs, scraping as voices overlapped. Mom slammed a hand down. "You're making this ugly, Kayla. Lauren's younger. She deserves a boost." I pulled out my laptop, fingers flying to open a blank sheet. "Deserves, let's calculate fair then." I typed fast, years of my unpaid hours scrubbing this old house, cooking meals, handling repairs, valued at minimum wage. It tallied thousands. Side by side, Lauren's perks, full tuition, covered car down payment, trip funds. "See, I've contributed silently while you drain the pot for her lifestyle and an ex who isn't even family." Dad leaned over, face reddening. "That's not how it works. Blood comes first." Lauren snatched the laptop edge. "You're jealous I earned that car with side jobs." I yanked it back. "Side jobs funded by my savings. The imbalance is right here, my labor worth zero, yours a free ride." Mom teared up. "We raised you better than this fighting." But I hit print pages, whirring from the ancient printer in the corner. Fresh sheets landed, warm charts showing my inputs versus their diversions to Lauren's ex via her wires. I slid the stack across the table. "Read it. My years here equal real value now compared to the favoritism." Dad scanned, muttering denials. "Numbers don't capture love." Lauren crumpled a page. "This is bullshit, you're ruining everything." Voices piqued her, yelling about my control freak attitude. Dad defending one-time helps, Mom pleading unity. Plates rattled from the force of fists on wood. Tension snapped when Lauren shoved her chairback bags flying. "I don't need this drama. Keep your stupid savings." She stormed to her car tires, spinning mud as she peeled out. Dad chased to the door, calling after her, but she was gone. Mom sank into a seat, sobbing softly. "You drove her away." I gathered the prince's voice steady despite the burn in my chest. Truth does that sometimes. Alone in the quiet, I copied files to a USB screenshots, new spreadsheet, even voice memos I'd recorded discreetly during the blow-up. Email draft to a local attorney, initial consult on asset recovery. Send hovered under my cursor. I locked the laptop screen, eyes stinging, red breath coming sharp. A few days later, I opened LinkedIn on my laptop in the quiet corner of my room. Scrolling old connections, Todd Riley's profile popped up, college buddy from that grueling group project on marketing copy for local businesses. We'd pulled all-nighters brainstorming taglines. He always said I had the sharpest eye for details. Heart pounding a bit, I messaged him. "Hey Todd, it's Kayla from junior year. Life's thrown curves, looking to jump back into writing. Any leads?" His reply came fast. "Kayla, been ages. That project was gold. You're still the wordsmith. Heading content for a PA firm now, home repair guides for old houses. Need freelancers. Coffee chat." We met at a diner near Harrisburg, steaming mugs between us. Todd leaned in, grinning. "Tell me what's up." I sketched the basics, family mess, pushing me out, skills rusty after years sidelined helping at home. He nodded, no judgment. "Rust, nah. We need fresh takes on leaky roofs and creaky furnaces, stuff homeowners search nonstop. Contract gig, $3,000 a month to start, remote scale with clients." My pulse quickened. That covered way more than any bill split they'd demanded. "When?" I asked. "Test piece tomorrow, draft a guide on fixing roof drips in vintage homes. Nail it, you're in." Back home, I set up at the wobbly desk by the window, irony hitting hard as rain pattered on the very roof leaking above. The task, step by step on ceiling cracks tools, list safety tips pulled from online specs, and my own forced knowledge of Dad's failed fixes. Words flowed easier than expected. Spot the drip source, first ladder steady. Hours vanished. I emailed the draft by midnight, polished tight. Todd's feedback pinged morning. "Spot on clients, love the practical edge. Contract incoming." Payments hit, quick first check cleared, 3,000 deposited clean. No more scraping by. I budgeted, sharp eyes on independence. Used a chunk for a legal consult retainer, forwarding the attorney those copied files from the blow-up. Solid case on joint funds, the email back read. "Proceed with small claims if needed." Relief washed over, but I kept grinding. Next gigs poured in, guides on furnace tune-ups, wiring checks for century-old wiring. Clients raved in reviews, real talk from someone who's lived it. Efficiency kicked in. I carved a routine, typing away while the house groaned around me. Heating bills spiked, that weak furnace straining against unmaintained vents, thermostat futile. Dad banged on my door once. "House is freezing, do something." I glanced up from edits. "My room's fine, Dad. Handle the rest." He grumbled off, but the win felt tangible. My output funded freedom, not their chaos. With steady cash, I scouted apartments online, cozy units, downtown hardwood floors, no leaks. Drove to viewings on lunch breaks, picturing keys in hand away from the mud and arguments. One spot stood out, one bedroom near the firm's remote hubs, rent covered easy by gigs. Applications submitted, references from Todd glowing. The sense of control grew. No more ledger fights or hidden dips. My work built a buffer. Todd called midway through a draft. "You're killing it, big client wants series on PA winters. Bump to 4,000 next month." I agreed, voice steady. Evenings, I'd walk the neighborhood, mapping escape routes, energy light for the first time in years. Freedom tasted sharp amid the house's chill bills mounting elsewhere, but not on me. I signed the updated contract digitally, a real smile breaking through. Not long after the court papers arrived by mail, officially stamped from the county's small claims division. Dad and Mom had filed a petition for exclusive occupancy of the family home, claiming I'd created an uninhabitable environment by refusing maintenance, specifically citing the dripping roof and uneven heating as hazards making the place unlivable. Their lawyer's attached note accused me of deliberate neglect under the new partnership, seeking to boot me out while keeping full control. I stared at the summons date a week away and forwarded it straight to my attorney. The hearing room smelled of old wood and coffee benches packed with locals airing grievances. Dad and Mom sat rigid on one side, their attorney a slick guy in a cheap suit outlining the case. Petitioner seeks sole use of the residence due to respondents' actions rendering it unsafe, persistent leaks from unaddressed roof damage, and faulty heating distribution per Pennsylvania habitability standards. He gestured to photos of water stains and the rattling furnace I'd snapped myself months back. Judge Harlan, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s with sharp glasses, nodded and turned to me. Response. My lawyer stood binder in hand. Your Honor, this stems from a unilateral demand for equal bill sharing on Ms. Monroe, who was previously the primary household contributor. We have documentation. She laid out the bank statement's first transfers from joint savings I'd built via freelance rerouted without consent, memos linking to sibling support. Clear misuse of shared funds violating implied trust. Dad squirmed as the judge flipped pages. Mr. Monroe, these withdrawals care to explain. He leaned to his mic. Family matters, Your Honor. Helping our younger daughter with education and needs. The judge raised a brow. And the respondent's contributions, no repayment noted. My lawyer slid the spreadsheet next columns tallying my years of unpaid domestic labor, cleaning cooking repairs at fair market rates totaling over $20,000 in value. While petitioners favored one child, Ms. Monroe subsidized the home solo only to face eviction threats. Mom interjected softly. We just wanted fairness, the attorney pressed. Fairness including draining her savings for the favored sibling's car and ex's debts. Gasps rippled, Dad's face drained color. Judge Harlan grilled him directly. Sir, favoritism in joint assets, does this align with equal partnership you demanded? He stammered. It was temporary aid. She cut in. Temporary misuse is still breach. Evidence shows respondent upheld her end-post demand while petitioners diverted funds. Testimony dragged their side harped on leaks I'd ignored in common areas, but my lawyer countered with logs proving I'd maintained my space impeccably. No habitability violation by her. The roof predates the split. Expert witness, a local inspector, testified the issues stemmed from years of deferred upkeep, not my actions. Dad tried. She's making it worse by not helping. Judge shook her head. You altered terms. She complied literally. Deliberation felt eternal, but the gavel fell firm. Petition denied. Court orders equitable asset division petitioners repay Ms. Monroe's proven savings portion from joint account, cancel any forced bill contributions. No eviction. Maintain status until resolved. Their attorney sputtered appeals, but Judge Harlan added, favoritism doesn't justify ousting a co-contributor. Case closed. Dad's complexion went ashen, Mom clutching his arm as we filed out. I gripped the ruling copy-tight steps light on the courthouse steps. After the ruling, I locked down every shared financial tie. First move called the bank to freeze family-linked cards I'd contributed to citing the court order on asset separation. No more auto-pays from my accounts for utilities or repairs. Handle your portions, I told Dad over a curt voicemail when he questioned it. The house repairs. Their dime now, no calling plumbers on my tab. Lauren felt the pinch quickest. Her shiny sedan got towed mid-week, bank repossessing it after missed payments snowballed without the covert infusions. She blew up my phone texts, ranting about repo agents at her dorm how she'd lose her job without wheels. This is your fault. Dad cut me off because of you. I let it ring, silent, deleting voicemails mid-sentence. Tuition followed suit. Community college aid froze when family support docs didn't match, forcing her to drop classes. Enrollment emails pinged her inbox, deferral notices, loans denied for incomplete backing. She scrambled side gigs, but the hole gaped wide. Dad and Mom's fallout hit harder utilities stacking like dominoes. Heating oil deliveries halted on unpaid bills, furnace sputtering colder each night. Electric notices threatened shutoff totals climbing past 1,000 from winter surges and deferred fixes. Their credit scores plummeted below 600. Pulled reports showed inquiries spiking from vendors chasing debts. Lenders called non-stop. One evening, I overheard Mom on the landline pleading extensions, voice cracking. Dad's temper flared in shouts about betrayal, but collections agents didn't care about family drama. Stress cracked their marriage open. Whispers turned arguments. Nights of slammed doors, talks of separation floating in tense silences. "We can't afford this house anymore," Dad snapped once, catching me in the hall. Mom hovered, eyes hollow. "Help us, Kayla, just this once." I shook my head. "Court said equal. I'm done subsidizing." Calls multiplied, Lauren begging rides, Dad demanding one last wire. Mom's teary pleas for reconciliation. Each buzzed, ignored, straight to block list. Packing crept in amid the chill boxes stacked quietly in my room, clothes folded neat while frost etched windows. The house felt heavier, leaks worsening without funds, but my space stayed insulated with space heaters from gig earnings. Lauren showed once disheveled car, gone. "You're killing us," she accused. I pointed to the door. "Live your choices." She left, fuming. I zipped the final suitcase, turning from the shadowed walls. With my last bag in hand, I stepped into the bright downtown apartment, keys jingling fresh. Hardwood floors gleamed under afternoon light. No drips or drafts, just space mine alone. First Act blocked every family number and email, silencing the barrage of pleas and accusations. No more voicemails from Lauren about lost classes, no Dad's demands for cash infusions. The quiet, hummed, empowering chains snapped. Work with Todd exploded from there. Gig-stacked series on winterizing old PA homes turned viral, with clients' paychecks padding savings faster than expected. "You're a natural," he emailed after a big payout. "Expand to blog features." I dove in, desk by the window overlooking streets, buzzing free. No house-chill distractions. Focus sharpened, portfolio growing weekly. Bills paid, seamless emergency fund ballooned, security I'd built solo, not siphoned. Evenings brought the journal pens, scratching truths long buried. Pages filled with realizations, years propping the house, only to watch favoritism flow to Lauren's whims, her ex's messes. It wasn't love funneling cash her way. It was imbalance, one child pedestal, the other footing silent bills. Self-worth flickered back, my labor skills, voice mattered not as family prop but equal force. "Favoritism destroys bonds," I wrote. "True ties demand reciprocity, not sacrifice." Contact stayed severed. Parents wrestled debts, solo utilities cutoffs, forcing sales talks on the creaky house, no bailout wires. Lauren shouldered her ex's lingering claims, scraping low-wage shifts without car or aid, reality biting hard. No reach-outs answered. Silence sealed the rift. Family favoritism isn't love, it's a chain demanding dignity's sacrifice. Demand equality from the start or sever ties clean. I gazed out the new window, city alive, utterly free.